There's some technical difficulties down in San Diego, as I understand it.
There are. We're working through that right now.
Going to.
They are on some very old, silly network connection, WAN connection.
I'm not doing anything.
So why don't we, there we go. I was gonna say, why don't we mute because of the feedback, because we got people, a lot of people in the same room.
Yeah, I know how to do it here.
It's actually up there.
I got it.
Guys, we're going to pass this straight over to Vince. Let Vince take the lead on this meeting. I just want to say one thing is that this meeting, I hope it inspires you the way it inspired me. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best. And I think you're going to find that the solution that Vince is going to share will definitely make all of our lives way easier. So with that being said, looks like we've got pretty much everybody on here. I'm going to pass it right over to Vince.
We thought the simplest solution was just not pay commissions anymore. Anyway, for those of you that don't know, you should all know who I am. If you're newer and you don't, my name is Vince Nardo. I'm the president and CEO of both DreamStyle and Reborn, and now in charge of Renovo West. And then also we have Tara Peterson, who is the soon to be VP of Human Resources for Renovo West. So she's in charge of all HR as it relates to both DreamStyle and Reborn. And so I want to back up a few moments. So I've met a few of you guys. I've been down to some of your sales meetings. I've had the opportunity to meet with you. And I've started this project about 3 or 4 months ago when I was tapped on the shoulder by John to help come in and really start working with DreamStyle and help resolve some of the issues that are going on there. One thing I noticed about 4 months ago was, and this probably doesn't affect most of you because you're in California, but DreamStyle really for the last 20 years has operated as 9 individual companies. And every business within even California, let's just take California, San Diego, LA, Inland Empire did things completely different. What San Diego did, Inland Empire doesn't do. What Inland Empire did, LA didn't do. And there were very, very different systems, processes throughout all the different divisions and businesses that really don't work when you're talking about a $200 million organization. Now, when you look at Renovo West, we're close to 300 and something million dollars in annual revenue. And we needed to find a way to harmonize across DreamStyle and harmonize across Reborn and look at making things a lot simpler. And a lot of this affects ultimately our client and affects our working conditions within the business. One of the things that's important to me is that we first support our teams. And I believe that if we make processes and systems that work to support our teams, our customers benefit. And one of the core values we've had at Reborn for a long time is our number 1 core value is to build a winning team. And our second core value is to have the ultimate working environment. And we put those 2 core values first because, like I said, we know that if we have the right team and we have the right working environment, then we ultimately have happy customers at the end. So a couple of things that I heard in my travels early on was how we calculate commissions, when we pay commissions, how we calculate monthly incentive bonuses, and when we pay monthly incentive bonuses. And there was a lot of noise in a lot of those processes. And some of that noise came from system challenges, the way they were doing things because of LP, the way they were doing things because of Acumatica, the way they were doing things because of the way payroll was done. And we looked at those processes and we said, how does that compare to what Reborn does? At Reborn, monthly bonuses and monthly and sales commissions are automated. There's nobody looking at reports to figure out what should be paid, when it should be paid. It's literally a point of a button, click a button. What was the net sales from the prior month? What was their bonus level? And pay them their bonus. what jobs qualify for an advance, calculate it, figure it out, put the list together, pay in their advance. What jobs completed, figure it out, figure out what their commission rate needs to be, figure out their final commission, deduct what their advance was, and pay them the balance. Very systematic, very automated, and completely out of the hands of sales management. So that commission process is completely within the auditing department at Reborn. And so we've built and are getting ready to launch an auditing department at DreamStyle under Kelly, which ultimately will be the department to calculate all commissions. And we will be taking it out of the sales rep manager's hands because, quite frankly, it shouldn't be a sales management function. Sales managers should be working with their sales teams to help them sell more, not spending their time to figure out what they should be paid. So that's one thing that's going to be coming. That's going to start in most likely mid-August with the official launch that we've talked about before of Salesforce. Once we get the sales team on Salesforce, which will be mid-August, you'll no longer be using Lead Perfection, and we will be able to start aggregating this data and creating dashboards for you to see what commissions you've been paid, what commissions you have outstanding, bonus levels, and all that will be all within dashboards. So much more friendly. The other thing that we're doing is we heard and we've seen lots of frustration between sales and operations exist at DreamStyle. Lots of frustration. We had a sales manager meeting on Friday, and I had a couple of the GMs from Reborn, as well as the chief marketing officer, Beth, as well as the VP of sales, Chris, and they had them explain to your sales management team what the ultimate picture of this looks like. The ultimate picture of this in a nutshell is you sell it and you forget it. When you're done selling it, we want you running another appointment. We don't want you looking back at what you sold and trying to figure out things with the client. We want you selling it and forgetting it, and we want no ops issues to go to sales, period. We will be there in August. That is the ultimate goal. We're not there today because we have a lot of processes we have to clean up, but we want, at Reborn, I can tell you, and some of your sales managers were on the call on Friday, the ops people at Reborn don't even know who the sales reps are. They don't even know their names. They literally are not allowed to talk to sales. They're not allowed to talk to sales management. They have to strictly go through sales operations, who talks to Paul and handles it. There's literally no conversation. And the reason we went that route about 5 years ago was because of exactly what I'm seeing at DreamStyle. Constant battling between sales and operations. Why sales saying, why do I have to go back and handle this? Ops saying, why didn't you go handle this? And literally a ping-ponging effect of back and forth, and our customers suffering. And we're not committed to our value of having the ultimate working environment for our teams or supporting our winning teams of sales reps. So we are changing that. What I'm going to ask of you folks is patience while we get there. I am telling you where we're going to be, and I'm telling you we're going to get there before, starting in August and towards the latter part of this year. But until we get there, we need to do everything we can to work together as a group, as a team between sales and operations for the benefit of our customers. There's a lot of systems at DreamStyle that are lacking. One of the big systems we've just started training on with Kelly is the concierge team. The concierge team is getting spun up here in the next, I think, Paul, do you remember? But I think it starts in another few weeks, right? So we are launching the concierge team to follow the system changes we're making, specifically focused around one-click. So those of you that are in San Diego know we just rolled out new one-click versions for Jacuzzi, Costco, and Jacuzzi. We're now working on Bath in LA, and then we're going to be doing Windows in San Diego and Windows in LA. And once we get those two product divisions on one-click correctly, the concierge team will be talking to every one of you and your sales at the point of sale. Essentially, what happens is you submit the contract the minute you sell it. The minute you submit the contract, concierge gets it. Concierge calls you in the home, talks to the client, reviews the contract, make sure nothing's missed. If anything's missed, they'll talk to you right then and there, and you'll submit a change order to fix the contract. At that point, the contract will be scheduled for installation while you're in the home. If the job requires a field measure tech visit, like a Windows job or some bath jobs, then we'll be scheduling that field measure tech visit with the concierge team while you're in the home. So phase one of this is concierge, which is coming in August 15th when we get on Salesforce. We're soft launching it before then. And then phase two is installation scheduling at the point of sale, which is coming in October when we get to our Salesforce phase two. So ultimately, we're done in October, but we're stepping into it over the next few months. That will eliminate a lot of the frustration that we're seeing on the sales side with clients not being contacted and not knowing what's happening next on their projects, because we'll be setting that expectation at the point of sale and ultimately speeding up the jobs. The next component that I wanted to go over with you is the changes that I spoke to a lot of people about with the sales agreement. So I did notice in doing a full audit of all 165 sales reps folders is that we don't have everybody on the most current 3508 or the most current W-2 program. There's some of you that are still on W-2. By the way, I would highly suggest you move to 3508. There's tax benefits, but Paul can talk to you about that separate. But we did notice that there is reps that don't have the most recent agreement that was pushed out in August of last year. So we've gone through and we've refreshed the agreement. The basic agreement's the same, but there's changes to some of the sections, which I'm going to go over with you right now. And we're going to be pushing out all new agreements to you on Thursday. And you'll need through ADP. So you'll need to review them, which we're going to do now. You'll review them and execute them, and we'll give you 5 days to go through and do that. And that will formalize and baseline the policies for commissions and advances. So there's no more confusion as to what's included in an advance, what's included in a final commission, what's included in my monthly incentive program. The rates we pay aren't changing. So the commission rates you're currently getting, the bonus levels you're currently at, the green line, none of that's changing. All we're doing is changing when and how to make it easier. And ultimately, this is better for you. So I'm going to go through that with you guys. I'm going to be using the 3508 agreement for California as the example. Those of you that I know are W-2, the process is still the same, but the language will be different in the W-2 agreement because it doesn't say direct seller, it says employee. And then as I go through this, I'll pause during it so that if you have questions, I want to answer them. I don't want you to leave here today with any questions. Your sales managers have this deck. If they don't, Paul sent it to them today. And so they can kind of step more into the details. But I thought it was important that you hear this from me rather than somebody else, because ultimately all this is 100% my responsibility only as the CEO. So I figured no better than you getting it from the horse's mouth. So let's go through this. So what you'll be getting on Thursday is 3 items in one document. You'll be getting, and again, I'm referring to 3508 only. If you're a W-2, you'll get a similar agreement, but it'll be called W-2. So you'll be getting your direct salesperson agreement, which will be dated July 6th or July 7th when we roll it out. You'll get an Exhibit A, which is the commission rate you're paid and more details on the commissions, which I'll go over. And then you'll get Exhibit C, which really is only a refresh or a resetting out of the arbitration agreements. We realized that in California, we hold everybody to an arbitration agreement if there's a dispute. And we realized that a lot of the arbitration agreements weren't sent out. So we're refreshing everybody's employee file to make sure everybody has the arbitration agreement in there. So here's some of the changes. So the items that are underlined or what's changed. If there's any item crossed out here, it's what we've taken out. And then the red is just basically putting the change in regular English, because we do know that all attorneys like to write things in very complex language. So I wanted to put it in English. So the first thing we changed in the 3508 agreement was the definition of what's included in the contract price. So just so everybody's clear, we've always done it this way at DreamStyle, but it wasn't clear, is the contract includes the value on the contract plus any change orders. So that was just more of a language clarification. The other one we clarified, because we launched Costco in California, when we do a contract in Costco, we technically are not contracting with the customer, the member. We're contracted with Costco, and Costco contracted with the member. So we had to redefine what's considered a net installed sale. A net installed sale in the agreement is important because that is at the moment that we recognize the job for final commission. So in pure language, we recognize a job as finally done, eligible for final commission when it's considered a net installed sale. So we modified the definition of net installed sale to include company's appointed designee, meaning in order for a job to receive final commission, it has to be complete by the buyer and paid in full by either the buyer or the company's appointed designee, in this case Costco, in the Costco example, or the finance company. So basically, DreamStyle has to be paid and the buyer has to have accepted the work to be considered complete. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Net installed sale income, which is in the agreement, is essentially what we base your commission on. So what amount of the contract is applicable for bonuses? In the prior agreement, we had this thing in there called an 8.25% administrative fee. It was in the agreement, but we were never taking it out of the contract value. So we just decided to strike it because it wasn't being used and it wasn't applicable. The only other thing we added, and this implies only for Costco. For those of you that are in San Diego that are selling Costco, you all know that we do not fully discount to Greenline when we sell a Costco project. We leave 10% into the agreement for the member because Costco gives them that additional 10% back in the form of a shop card. Because we leave that in the contract, we can't pay a commission on the contract value because then we would be paying more commission on Costco projects than we would non-Costco projects. So this extra language strictly clarifies that we will reduce the contract value by 10% to remove the shop card and pay you the commission on that. It doesn't mean you're getting less commission on Costco. As you know, if we were to sell a $20,000 fully green, a job discounted to Greenline at DreamStyle for $20,000 would be written to Costco at $22,000. So all this is saying is that before we pay the commission on 22, we're discounting it to the 20 to make it even to a DreamStyle net contract. Does that make sense? Okay. The other area, for those of you that are on 3508 specifically, this doesn't apply to those that were brought in as W-2. As a 3508 employee in California, you are required by yourself to obtain your home improvement salesperson license through the Contractor State Licensing Board. That responsibility and that payment and that maintenance of that annual license, it's not a lot, is your responsibility because as a 3508 direct seller, you're quote unquote an independent contractor. So the company cannot pay that on your behalf. This was not clear in the agreement, so we added this language. We will be going through all of the California DreamStyle direct sellers and matching it up to the Contractor State Licensing Board. You folks could really do us a favor. Go on cslb.ca.gov, look up the DreamStyle contractor's license for California, go under additional sales reps or sales reps and see if your name is existing. If your name is not existent, please go directly to your sales manager. We need to assist you with the forms to get an HIS license. This is very, very important in the state of California. We are required on all contracts in California for you to put your HIS license. This is your license that is assigned to DreamStyle. If you move on from DreamStyle, you unassociate your license and take it with you. So it is your license. We have to have this. If you don't have one and you don't do this, you are actually personally liable for the penalty that the Contractors Board will place on you. And it's not the monetary penalty that's the problem. It's the ding on your HIS license that could haunt you forever. So please make sure you go on cslb.ca.gov. Make sure your name is listed under DreamStyle's license. And if it's not, talk to your sales manager. Tara will be working with Paul and the sales management team to get our hands around this. But I did notice that many of you don't have HIS licenses. So it's not that you can't sell without it, but we can sell without it as long as we have your application in. If we don't have your application in and an application ID, we're in violation of the contractors board. So if there's any questions, like I said, talk to your sales managers, talk to Paul, and they'll work with HR. Are there any questions on that? That's important, guys. We've been hit a lot. All right, let's talk about commissions. So there was an area under this section that spoke about what was eligible for commissions and advances. And in the past, it had language in there that said that if the gross margin was less than 30%, the project would not be included, would not be allowed for commission. We have removed that. Sales reps are not responsible for gross margin. Sales reps are responsible for discount to Greenline. Your commission is affected by how much you discount to Greenline, not the company's gross margin on the job. So we have removed that and replaced it with the project will be removed. You will get no commission if the project is sold. This is actually written wrong.
Less than 91%.
Yes, that's correct. It's written right. I keep saying that wrong. So if you sell the project within 90% of Greenline, i.e. discount more than 10% below Greenline, then it's not eligible for commission. It has to be within 0 and 9% of Greenline to be eligible for commission. That there is no change there. That's how it was before. But instead of having that language, there was this language about gross margin. So we removed that. And don't worry about this. Some of you are on W-2 or on different commission plans, but your commission is what your plan says. And then it's basically adjusted by a factor, which I'll show you as you discount below Greenline. Are there any questions on that? I want to make sure everybody understands this. Do you speak English? Este mejor hablo en español. No questions? Come on, Dustin. Somebody in your office has a question. All right, we'll move on.
All right, so hold on 1 second. So what did you say?
If for any reason you got put on a gross margin, literally a week or 2 weeks ago or so in there,
This is moving forward.
is this going to fix those or is it only future stuff?
So what this is effective with all sales starting July 1st. We're going to retro it to the beginning of the month. We're going to go through the mess that we've had and see what we can fix and go through and look through that. Yes. So we are going to go through those. It's going to be an arduous process because there's a lot, but we are going to go through those and see what we can do to reconcile what we had in the last few months to what we have going on forward. But any contract dated July 1st will not be held to the old policies.
Cool. All right, muting again.
Hey, Vince,
Yes, ma'am.
this may not be the place to ask this question, but do they understand what 3508 and the benefits of it?
Ones that are on it should.
Okay, just making sure because I wasn't sure if everybody knew, and with everything that's going on, I thought it would be
Yeah, we
a good
will.
time to address the positive.
Sure. So I will make sure, Tara, we need to put together, I'm sure DreamStyle has it, a 3508 deck. We need to look at get the 3508 deck from Paul and HR and we go through that. But there is tremendous values for you folks to be on 3508 versus W2. Tremendous. Like essentially you make more money. So we'll make sure we refresh that deck and we get it out to sales managers so that we're talking common language versus everybody's interpretation of it so that you understand. So we will do that, Marla. As a direct seller, there's advantages and there might be considered disadvantages. So the disadvantage might be you can't get sick pay or PTO or vacation as a direct seller. But the advantage is you get less taxes and you're able to write off a lot of personal stuff. That's actually the benefit, is you get to write off a lot of personal stuff, which you could not do if you were a W-2. And this language didn't change. The only area we changed that was in the agreement that was incorrect was there was a line in there in California that said we don't pay mileage. We do pay mileage in California. So direct sellers are reimbursed for mileage per section 3.9, which is already in the agreement. This was just a contradictory phrase that we took out. So just understand that there's no change there. It's just that we had to remove this phrase because it was wrong. So let's talk about advances. In the agreement, it clearly indicates that you only earn the commission when it becomes a net installed sale, which is when, like we talked about earlier, that the client has accepted the project, the buyer or appointed designee, Costco, has paid us, or the finance company's paid us. That is the only time that a project is you have earned the final commission. Anything we pay before that point is an advance, meaning we can take the advance can come back if the project cancels, or if the project, well, basically if the project cancels, the advance can come back if it doesn't net. DreamStyle pays a 50% advance on commissions. So we basically take your base commission rate. For simplistic terms, let's just use 9%. If you sell a $10,000 deal and it qualifies, which we'll talk about, you will get 50% of 9%, or on a $10,000 deal, $450. That will be an advance to you. That is the practice we've been using. What we have made confusing is what qualifies for an advance. Prior to July 1st, we were looking at lead perfection and confirming if the materials were ordered on the project. We are no longer going to do that. We are going to make this extremely simple for you to receive in advance. The only two things that have to exist for an advance is you have to turn in all the documents, the contract, everything that goes along with the contract. Turn that all in. The second thing is it's an either or. We either have to have received 50% of the funds or financing approved. For example, if you sell a window project in California and you collect 10% at the point of sale, and you have a measure payment on the contract due during the field measure visit for 40%, the field measure visit has to be completed for us to have received 50% to be eligible for an advance. If we've measured it and we received the 50%, you will get the advance. If we have received 50% from the financing, you will get your advance. If the project is pending financing approval, so you did not get first look approval in the home, and Kelly's finance team is trying to get second look approved and it's not approved yet, you won't get an advance. If the project cancels, it's not considered a net installed sale, you won't get an advance. Is that clear? Or are there any questions on that?
On finance, when it's financed and it's approved and signed in the home, does finance always pay them 50% upfront
Yes.
or not till the end?
No, 50% upfront. So I actually don't make that contingent. So the customer is paid 50% or the financing agreement has been approved. So payment by the finance company is not contingent. What's contingent is on a cash deal, we've collected 50%, and on a finance deal, the finance agreement's approved. Does that answer your
Hey,
question?
Vince, real quick, HOA
Doesn't matter.
and permitting does not matter, correct?
Does not matter.
Meaning that you will be paid.
Not waiting for a month for HOA.
No.
Doesn't matter.
Well, permit will have been.
Doesn't matter. Three things matter, and the last one's neither or. All documents turned in. Customers paid us at least 50%, or the financing has been approved. If those things are complete by the date, which we'll talk about in a moment, that we calculate advances, you will get your 50% advance.
So for the way that we collect a cash project, we do the 1,000 and then the 40 and 40.
Correct.
So does that mean we don't get paid
No,
until?
that's
second?
close enough. What you do in California is 10% or $1,000, whichever is less. And then you do a field measure. That's so close. It only applies on the $20,000 deals. You're correct. On a $20,000 deal, technically at measure, we have a little bit less than 50%. I'll clarify that.
You could.
I'm gonna make the
change,
change in one click. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
gonna make the change in one click so it defaults for you guys to the new change.
Yes, that's what it's supposed to do. So one click's supposed to make it that by the time we do the measure, we have 50%. But the math was a little off. So we'll fix that, but you'll be fine at the measure, basically that measure payment, as long as it's like right there at 50%, we're fine.
Vince, I have a question.
Sure.
You were talking about how we're considered getting an advance, and then if the customer cancels, that advance is taken away, but they only have a certain amount of days to cancel. So are they able to cancel after that rescission date and still get the
Yes.
advance taken away?
Yes. So if the job never nets, if the company decides to cancel it, if the client decides to cancel it, we let them. If the client calls Costco in San Diego and bitches and complains late and we decide to cancel it, that commission will be clawed back. Both the sales rep and the company, we only all make money when we have money to make. We don't pay commissions on things we can't do. So you are correct.
And that's not a change. That's the way it's always been.
That's correct.
I guess I was just unclear. I always thought they had their 3 or 5 day rescission, and after that, they're liable for the contract.
Well, they are. So technically, Sloan, you're correct. A client's liable. But we all know the first thing we always have to do as an agent of DreamStyle is protect the brand. And it's more important for us to protect the brand than to fight a client that wants to cancel late. Now, we're always going to push back that the client, we have for example, we try to force them to pay a restocking fee, right? We have all these tools we use, but at the end of the day, the only way we can force a client to perform on a project is to sue them. And if the client wants out that bad, I would rather be the company that takes care and understands why the client wants to cancel and just let them out than to force us into their home and install a product they don't want. Because ultimately, that job will never get a final commission because it'll never net. Because what will happen is that client's going to fight us through that entire project and have us go back every single day to fix every little thing, put a screw in, caulk this, make that shiny. That job will be the job from hell. So in the end, you would never get your final commission because I guarantee you that client would never let us finish. So the best thing we do on these is, while legally they have 3 to 5 days, depending on their age in California, the best practice is service the client and protect the brand. And for you folks, those jobs that come that late in cancellation, in the big scheme of things, should be minimal, right? You might get a bunch of them in one sharp month, but we track that. We track late cancellations, and we take it seriously. But at the end of the day, we only pay on what we get money on. Any other questions? Okay, let's move on. So we clarified within the agreement what's required to process for mileage reimbursement. We realized that we had you folks doing mileage reimbursement, but we never clarified in the agreement what mileage reimbursement meant. So we just added this section that basically says it's the policy you've been doing, right? You've been filling out a mileage sheet, putting down the lead number, putting down the address. You've been turning that in, and we've been paying mileage reimbursement. So it's basically no different than what you've been doing. We just put the language in there to officially make sure what we are doing. There's no questions on that, right? On mileage? Linda's going like this. I don't know if that means move on. This section, arbitration, as you all know, there's an arbitration agreement in there in case we get into a conflict. All this merely, all we changed here, there's no change. The only thing we added was we attached the arbitration agreement. It's called Exhibit C, so you'll have it. We did realize that we gave it to people, but it wasn't clearly referenced. So this is just a reference that the arbitration agreement is part of the policy. So you'll get the arbitration agreement, review it, and then you could sign it, and then you could send it back when you get it through ADP. But no change there. So let's talk this one. Within your 3508 agreements, different than W2, there's an Exhibit A, which is your commission plan for you. Tells you what your base commission is and how your commissions are paid in more detail. So we made some significant changes here to make things clear for the team on how we do this. So like we talked about earlier, the first half advance is only going to be computed when all the documents are turned in, we've received the 50% or financing has been approved, and then your sales manager turns in your commission worksheet. The commission worksheet will go away when we get onto Salesforce because we'll automate it, but until then we left it in here. So that really is no change other than clarifying that we don't care about materials ordered again, and that final commissions are computed on net installed sales income, and they're computed for all net installed sales, right? We talked about net installed sales, customer has to accept it, and we have to be paid for it. That's when you get your final commission calculated. And we remove this whole materials ordered stuff because that's not going to be applicable anymore. So that is really the only change here is materials ordered does not matter anymore for final commissions or advances. So no, is there any questions on that? Because it's kind of redundant to what we talked about before. We're all good. We're all good? Okay. I'm out of coffee. We just inserted the same comment under net installed sale because we realized that the net installed sale definition also appeared in the exhibit. So no change here other than just the same thing we talked about before. This is a big one. So now we're going to talk about monthly incentive bonuses. There was a paragraph in the current agreement that said if a project cancels or terminates after we calculate your monthly incentive bonus, that we would take that cancellation out of the subsequent month's bonus total. We are no longer going to do that. As you'll see in the following pages, when we calculate your monthly incentive bonus, for example, when we calculate your bonus in July for June, whatever qualified in June for that bonus level will no longer be changed in July or in August if a job cancels. It's going to be calculated, paid, and done. We are no longer going to go backwards and try to readjust all these monthly incentive bonus totals for late cancellations. Are any questions on that? Also, when we calculate your monthly incentive bonus, we're basing it on, which we'll see on the next page, on the contract value. If you notice, I talked about earlier, the contract includes the contract amount plus any change orders. At the time we calculate your bonus, any and all change orders turned in up until that point on those contracts from June will calculate for the bonus for June paid in July. If you write a change order on a June contract after the cutoff that we calculate incentive bonuses, you will not get an extra incentive bonus on it. It's done. So write all your change orders before we calculate incentive bonuses for the month. Because we're not, just like we're not going to go back and remove, we're not going to go back and add. You get whatever you wrote in that month up until the date we calculate it. Are there any questions on that? Okay. Now let's talk
I have
about
a question.
Yes.
Hey, Vince. My question is, when a job is sold, and let's say it's sold in May, and in June, previously it doesn't become good until materials are ordered. So in this case, it did not become materials ordered until June. Does that mean that that May job can bonus in June with June's numbers?
It used to. And likewise, we used to take them away. We're no longer going to do that.
So
Got it.
if I understand your question, Linda, part of what you're trying to figure out is through this transition, the month of May, there were commissions that did not count to bonus because of the way that we were calculating bonuses. Those ones that happened in the month of May that did not get attributed to May, if I understand you, you're asking if those will fall into June for this one-time calculation. Is that more or less what you meant?
Yes.
So what we're doing is Paul and the sales managers are going through all those ones to figure out what we need to do to kind of get us caught up. And they're gonna work on that with the sales managers and look at the individual sales reps and look at all that data and see what we need to do. But the official rule is this is effective June 1st on bonuses. We're gonna retro June 1st. So we're not gonna, so June, for the month of June, which we just completed, all those bonuses will be calculated on what was netted in June and paid in July, regardless if they are in materials ordered. So the only ones we gotta go back and look at are May.
Got it. Thank you.
So the only thing that affects what's available to count in monthly incentive bonus is, as you are aware, and this is in the current agreement, if the job is discounted more than within 97% of green line, it's not eligible for a bonus. Everybody knows that, right? Okay, so that still stays the same. The other thing that clarifies is this. So on the 14th of July, we're going to look at all the sales with contract dates of June. We're going to look at the status in LP, and we're going to see if the job is in new or a finance non-approved status, finance pending, finance hold, pending e-signature. If the job is in one of those statuses, it will not be counted as eligible for monthly incentive bonus. If it's not in those statuses, which by the 14th, no job should be in that status, right? Because by the 14th, if we sell it on the 31st of June, we have 2 weeks to clear it through finance. If we haven't cleared it through finance in 2 weeks, it's probably going to cancel anyway. So we calculate on the 14th, and we're going to look at all the jobs and see how much you discounted them within green line. And as long as you're not below 97% of green line, it'll count. And obviously we take out any canceled sales, right? So if the job canceled, it doesn't count. Are there any questions on that? Donna, if you're talking, you're on mute.
No questions.
Okay,
Hey Vince, it's Mark.
yes.
So if, for example, we're waiting for a refi or something like that, and we don't get it by the 14th, but for some reason on the 20th, it's good, what happens to that job?
Doesn't count.
Ever?
Ever.
Thank you.
So we're only doing what's netted and ready to do it by the 14th. So just like we're not going to take stuff back out, we're not going to add stuff back in because it becomes a nightmare of accounting. So it's all your good business by the 14th of the following month. And likewise, here's the other side of this. If that job cancels on the 16th, we're not taking it out. You already got paid on it. So it goes both ways.
And again, HOA and permits, that's not going to hold anything up either,
Doesn't
right?
count. Doesn't matter. Don't care. All I care is these statuses. New, which there should be nothing in new because that's 14 days later, right? So new's got to be off, and then it's got to clear through financing. As long as that happens, you're getting it's counting towards a bonus. And obviously not canceled. Good with everybody? That's a big change.
Vince, so you said if it says new, what if it says like RTP?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
It just can't be in one of these statuses. New should never exist, right? Because new, they move out of new pretty quick. They move from new to RTP, or they go from new to some other status pretty fast. So new shouldn't exist by 14 days later. New exists 14 days later, we got a big problem. So new shouldn't exist. These are the ones we're really working on. Is it finance approved? Because we don't want to count something for a bonus that subsequently can never get financed. Right? Because if it doesn't get financed, it's going to cancel.
So these numbers will be made and paid by what date?
They're calculated on the 15th and they're paid on the next payroll date, which I'll show you on a calendar right now.
Okay.
I'll walk you through it so you understand. What we've been doing is we've been calculating them on the 7th and paying them on a month away, right? So Paul, can you explain what we've been doing?
So the process that we've been doing, guys, is that they're calculating it like Vince said by the 7th. So if that would be, let's just use the month of July, we would calculate June's by the 7th of July, but we would pay that on the first day of August. And so now this is actually going to mean you're going to get paid your bonus quicker.
Right, because you'll get it on the next payroll period in July, which I'll show you.
Technically, I believe the contract was anything that was net by the 5th is what it said by the contract. There was
No,
materials
this is
ordered.
what it said right here.
It depends on which contract you're looking at. Some of them say the 5th, some of them say the 7th. So it just
Yeah.
depends.
So Dustin, this is part of the problem we had. In August of last year, they rolled out this version that said the 7th. And then a year and a half prior to that, they had another version that said the 5th. So where we failed as an organization was to get everybody accurate to the right plan, which has caused the confusion. So that is why Tara from the VP of HR for Renova West is on the call, because we are going to push out everybody to level set so everybody knows what the model is. Because and again, guys, I apologize, this is pre-me, but we were not sending out, not everybody was always on the same agreement. I don't understand why that ever happened. So I can only apologize for the confusion, but I can tell you I can resolve the confusion this way. So all this we just added this statement. All this is saying is that when we calculate the bonuses, they're earned when we calculate them on the bonuses, right? We're going to calculate them by the 15th. You have to be a direct seller of the company or a W-2 employee when we calculate them to get them. So if you decide to leave the company on the 13th, you won't get your incentive bonus for the prior month. So if you're going to leave the company, don't leave until after we give you your incentive bonus, bottom line. Because if you leave prior, you don't get it. Commissions are different. Commissions are a different story, but bonuses, you have to be employed. You have to be a direct seller or an employee at the time we calculate them to have earned them. Okay, is that clear? So don't leave until we calculate them.
Vince, this is Marco.
Yes.
Hi, just a quick question so I can be a little bit more clear on the past bonuses. So we were expecting the bonus for May, right? And I know you spoke about it, you're gonna review them. However, since I started working with the company almost 2 years ago, we gotten the bonus every month, the first of the month via the net sales.
Yep.
May was net sale and nobody mentioned anything for June or July until right now. We having this meeting now, we'll figure it out. But nobody said anything about, you know what, we're gonna change this for the month of May.
We weren't changing it for May. So the month of May was not changed. You should have received that at the beginning of July. We're gonna look at that, Paul and I, and find out what the hell happened if they weren't turned in. I don't know. I saw your email. I'm not sure what happened. I don't know who wasn't paid, but we're gonna get all that rectified this week.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. That was a question. Thank you.
You're right. The May should have been paid beginning of July.
Very good. So we're waiting for that. Thank you.
Yeah, that'll be resolved this week, right, Paul?
Appreciate it.
That's our plan to look at all that. All right, so where was I at? Oh, so all this section does is re-clarify everything we just talked about again, because a lot of this stuff's redundant in the agreement. It's just basically saying that bonuses and on eligible sales, we don't care about it being materials ordered. The change here is we're going to calculate them on the 15th. So per your point, Marco, we used to calculate them on the 7th. Per your point, Dustin, we used to kind of calculate them on the 5th. We now will calculate them on the 15th. That'll give us an extra week to get more jobs cleared for your bonus for the prior month, right? Because that's what I'm trying to do here, is I want those jobs that you sold at the end of the month that couldn't clear financing in 4 days. to give us an extra 5 days or 7 days in this case to clear financing, so we can include them. Okay? Is that clear to everybody? Okay, it's kind of what I already talked about. All right, let's talk about this calendar. This will answer your questions on how this works. So this is July of this next week. July 14th is a payroll date at Dreamstyle. So you guys, everybody gets their paycheck on the 14th. The cutoff for June bonuses is the 15th. Remember I said we're going to do all monthly incentive bonuses on the 15th? It's the day after payroll. So those bonuses that are calculated here will be paid on the next pay period here. So you will get your June bonuses here, not in August. Does that make sense? In August, let's follow it through. In August, we calculate your July bonuses on the 15th. It's before the payroll date, happens to be 1 day before. So you will actually get that on the next payroll date, which is the 25th. Does that make sense? Let's talk about commissions cutoff. So for this payroll date, the 28th, we're looking for the cutoff is the Wednesday before. So we're going to, on the Wednesday before, we are looking for all projects that are eligible for advances and final commissions from the day after the prior cutoff, which was the 6th, through the 18th. So all the projects that cleared in this period make this cutoff and they're paid here. That's been the current practice, but I wanted to put a map together to make it clear. Does that make sense to everybody?
What about jobs that were prior to the 6th that finally got to the right status?
Yeah, so the cutoff, when you do advances and commissions, it doesn't care about the contract date. It's looking at the status and if we paid it already. So you're right. So it's not contract date. So basically we're looking, so on the 18th, we're going into the system and we're saying, give me all the jobs that are not new, not one of those finance holds, and we have not paid a commission on it yet. If we haven't paid an advance on it yet, pay it. And then we're also looking at all the jobs that completed and were net installed sales, i.e. accepted by the client and paid in full within those 2 weeks. If the paid in full date is within those 2 weeks, then it counts for final commission by that cutoff. Does that clear it up, Stephanie?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? There's a lot of faces here, so I can't watch all of them. So any questions on any of this? Because that was actually the last page.
Are these calendar maps gonna be made available to us?
No, because here's how you can figure it out. Payroll, you know the payroll dates, right? So the 14th is the payroll date. It's always, the cutoff is always the Wednesday before payroll. Payroll Wednesday before, payroll Wednesday before, payroll Wednesday before, right? That's the cutoff always for advances and final commissions. Monthly bonuses are always calculated on the 15th.
Hey, Vince.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Larry from Los Angeles. So, hey, I've been here about, 10, 11 months. And the kind of challenge I've been facing is I've been having a hard time kind of planning my financial life with the way it's been structured. And like, it's been a combination of things. Like the leads have been inconsistent in terms of the quantity and the quality. And then, getting paid on them, and the installation times have taken a longer time. And then you got to fall within the pay period, so it could take 2 months to install or longer. And then you got to wait another 2 weeks. So you just missed the cutoff. So these things they can come in like chunks, but there's times where, there's weeks literally where I'm just super unproductive because I've gotten 5 leads and 3 of them were no shows, or they needed a full bathroom, so there's just been a lot of inconsistency going on. And it's not really just about the pay periods. It's really just about the system and that it hasn't been, consistent.
Yeah.
So just want to throw that on your radar screen.
Oh, no, it's on my radar screen. So, one of the big changes we just made that is, if you were on the company-wide meeting last couple Fridays ago, 3 or 4 Fridays ago, was we put, Beth Byron is moving into Chief Marketing Officer for all of Renova West. She's currently the Chief Marketing and Sales Officer at Reborn. To give you guys an idea of what opportunities we saw, DreamStyle is, and this is no fault of you folks, we're the first, number one, the market changed, right? Lead generation tactics changed big time about 8 months ago. DreamStyle was not prepared for those changes. It didn't have the tech to be able to become more efficient on processing leads and call centers. It relied on lead perfection. Lead perfection, quite frankly, is a piece of shit. I used to be on it for 15 years, piece of crap. So what we did was, we're rolling out with the Salesforce. The reason why we pressed, or I pressed super hard to get us on Salesforce at DreamStyle, was because I knew that if we got on Salesforce at DreamStyle, we could share the call center resources at Reborn with the DreamStyle resources, and basically have 150 people on the call center available to either organization at any time, because we could integrate the systems. Reborn and DreamStyle generate the exact amount of raw leads every week. We both Reborn and DreamStyle generate between 4,000 to 5,000 raw leads a week. The difference is DreamStyle, because of its tech limitations and because of inconsistent scripting in the call center and some other challenges, has only been able to convert 11% of those raw leads to issued appointments. Do you want to compare that to Reborn? Reborn converts 25%. So if Reborn gets 4,000 leads in a week, 1,000 are going to go on the street as appointments. If DreamStyle gets 1,000 leads if DreamStyle gets 4,000 leads in a week, 11% of those, or about 440, are going to make it to appointments. Literally half the amount of success on DreamStyle versus Reborn. So I quickly, over the last 2 months, have been working with Beth and the IT team at Renovo to say, how fast, we've been talking about Salesforce, how fast can we get them on Salesforce? Because if we get them on Salesforce, we can make the call center more efficient. We can dial more, we can staff more. There's a lot of things we can do to become more efficient to put appointments on the street. They promised me that and we've been working on it for the last month, that would be August 15th. So I suspect won't happen. We're doing other changes too in the short term to increase the lead volume, but the big help will come towards late August, when we actually can get this call centers aligned. Some of the other changes we've had problems with, honestly, guys, is we have too many tails wagging the dog at DreamStyle. The call center, if you consider that the dog, has been wagged by sales reps and sales managers throughout the entire organization. Anybody and anybody gets a hold of this call center and tells them what they will and will not accept in their markets. That is changing. Call center is completely off limits to sales. If sales has a problem with leads, they go through sales managers. Sales managers go through Beth, the Chief Marketing Officer. To give you an example, I found out that in LA, we won't run baths in condos. If you live in LA like I do, that is absolutely stupid. We can do baths in condos all day long. That's just one area of a change that we're changing right now to put more leads on the street. Another area, which some of you may like this or not like it, is one window. In some markets, we told the call center we won't run one window. Of course we'd run one window. One window is an opportunity to sell 3 windows. You can't sell what you can't get in the house for. So anytime we can get in the house when there's a need, a want and a need, and 2 customers for 60 to 90 minutes, that is a lead we want to run. So what we had to do was reestablish what we call the call center bill of rights, which is the call center's commitment to the sales team. We needed to get that commitment clear between sales and call center. That commitment's not been clear. Some sales reps believe a good lead is somebody with $25,000 in a bag at the front door that's going to leave it outside for me. That is not what we try to set in the call center. Some people think, salespeople think a good lead is somebody that does not want tile. That's not a good bath lead. So we had to reset what the expectation is. Just to clear it for everybody on this call, There's only three things that make up a good appointment. A want in a product or service that we offer, two people for 60, all decision makers for 60 to 90, all decision makers and 60 to 90 minutes. Those are the three primary qualifiers for a good appointment. Nothing else matters. Interest, two people, all decision makers, 60 to 90 minutes. So just remember when you're screening what you consider to be good appointment against those three metrics. Client says, I don't want acrylic. Good appointment. Your job is to sell them acrylic. Client says, I want Renewal by Andersen FiberX windows. Well, some of you guys sell that something similar in Infinity. Client says, I want vinyl windows. Your job to sell them Infinity, right? Client says, I want to move walls. Not your job to sell. The only time we go out for a bathroom that wants to move walls is when the client says, I want to move my bathroom from my master to my other room. We simply ask them, are you interested? We ask them actually quite frank, are you interested in moving walls or changing the layout? In the event they say yes, we follow back with the next question. Are you interested in seeing options that would work within your existing footprint? If they say yes, you run the appointment. If they say no, we don't set it. So we need to really reset what is a lead, and that, Larry, will allow us to have more opportunities. We are literally shorting ourselves opportunities. So don't hold your breath because it's a month out, but have hope. And the only hope I can give you is Beth, because she's proven over 4 years that she can convert 25% of raw leads to issued appointments. The cavalry is coming.
Vince, it's Stephanie. I have a question. On single homeowner calls, is there any chance you guys would allow reps to make a second call to them to try to get everybody there?
So we will be rolling out those policies formally. The policy is going to be put in place, which is not done yet because they're still working on setting up the stuff in the call center, is when you get a customer no-show or a one leg, you can either pitch it, because listen, I sold in the home just like all you guys. I could sell a one leg. You guys could sell a one leg. I could not rescission sell a one leg too. You could not rescission sell a one leg. But in the event you can't, you can call and reset it from the call center to the call center. But that's what you want, is a call and reset at the point. As far as one legs are concerned, we do not try to issue one-legged appointments. We try to issue all setters, but that is not fair in today's society. There's a lot of one half of the party that can make the decision. I bet you there's a lot of people on this Zoom that are married that would say, I can make the decision without my spouse, right? My wife can make the decision without me. So we do push back and do try to get all decision makers there. But in the event we start getting pushed back harder from the client, we will set it and we will run the play. Because at the end, go back to what I said in the beginning, the first thing we got to protect is the brand. And because we got to protect the brand, we got to run them. However, we monitor and we have a QA person that's not 100% an affected at DreamStyle yet. It's coming in the next month, in the next few weeks, is a QA auditor. The QA auditor listens to every single one leg and every single customer no-show to make sure, was there a problem with how we set it or confirmed it? That is how we fix it. We do accept a certain amount of one legs and no-shows. What you guys got to think about is what you live in is a 10-7-3 model. Has anybody ever heard of a 10-7-3 besides Dustin or Paul? So a 10-7-3 means you get issued 10, you actually get into 7, and you sell 3. That is the world we live in lead running land. 10-7-3, meaning 3 of the 10 we expect to be crap. Can't, whatever the reason is. No show, cancels before we get to the front door, one leg, we expect that. We track it, we monitor it, because we live in a world of unequals, unfortunately, you might be the one that got 5 of them that week. But I can tell you when we average it out and your sales manager will be able to share the data with you, it's not any more than 1073. That I can promise you, because if it was, I would beat up Beth. Anything else? Ask away. I think I got a few more minutes.
I got to jump off for another call, but I'm Tara, everybody. I'm the VP of HR. Just want to let you guys know that, you know, Vince and the team went through meticulously to make sure that this comp plan was appealing to you guys and beneficial, and streamline the process so that everybody understands. I think the most confusing thing is to not understand when and how I get paid, because we are all here to provide for our families. So understand that we're here to support. If you guys have questions for me, for Vince after this call, please feel free to send it out to us. Also know that, like Vince mentioned, we will send out this structure to everybody via ADP, okay? Once you guys get that on ADP, please don't sign on via the app. You are not able to acknowledge any documents on the app. You can go onto your phone, but you have to do the online ADP. Go to the ADP website, which will send you guys instructions on how to do that so you guys can acknowledge the documents. I'm here to support. Haven't met most of you guys, but feel free to reach out to me, ping me, send me an email, and you know, we'll be here through the growing pains of this.
Yeah, so for those of you that are in the LA market, LA Bath, as you know, we've had Charles and Natalie go on leave of absence for personal reasons. So we were a little bit in a disruptive state within that office. Clearly, we have a culture/functional problem that we need to fix and address. Paul and Marla are going to be working with you guys to come up with a backstop for that. I can tell you guys and why I wanted to have this call. We need to resolve this as a team. Nobody's here to out the other team. Nobody's here to make working here difficult. We're here to support our sales teams and make the projects progress for the best of our clients. Like I told you, build a winning team. I mean, our team members and also our clients. So know this, that when things don't appear, don't draw your own conclusion on what a situation is. If you have a question, run it through Paul, run it through your sales manager if you're in San Diego, run it through Mark Miller if you're in LA Windows, but run it through your sales manager. They will get you the answer. They talk to Paul, they talk to me. I would love to be able to have all of you folks email me directly, but there's 1,600 team members between Renova West, and that would be a lot of emails all day long. So I would not do you a service of being able to respond, but please, Paul, the leadership team, Tara, we have 2 meetings a week. Trust me when I tell you everything you think I don't know, I know, and probably no more. So we're here to support you guys during this transition, specifically in LA Bath. If there's something that's going on in your head right now and you're in a bad headspace, I highly suggest you reach out to Marla or Paul today and we talk through what's going on so we can resolve it. We're here to make this easier place to work and an easier place for our customers. So anything anybody else wants to add?
Hey Vince, this is Andrew out of Ontario, IEBAF. I had a quick question. I believe I was hired on under the W-2 program. Is it possible for those of us that were hired under the W-2 to transfer to a 3508 or?
Yes, you should be.
Okay.
Honestly, Andrew, you guys should all be on 3508. It's better for you tax-wise.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. So
100%
I was
better.
going to look into that as well. Okay.
It's the one thing that, for those of you that talk to all the W-2s, the intent at DreamStyle was to always have everybody on 3508. How we got some W-2, I have no idea. Some people didn't want to go on 3508 when we did the program many, many years ago, and we allowed that to exist. But I will honestly tell you, trust me, talk to your CPA. Ask him about 3508. If your CPA doesn't understand it, we'll get you a CPA that knows it, because it's called 3508 Independent Contractor Agreement. It's very unique. It's the same way there's the same program that was built for outside sales reps for the real estate business. It was never fully incorporated into direct selling that we do in the home, but it has been probably 10 years ago, 12 years ago, started to be incorporated into it. And it's a much better program because literally if you buy a pencil, you can write it off. You write off a room in your house. So there's things you can get available that aren't available to you as a W-2 anymore. So to your point, Andrew, talk to your sales manager, if it's Paul or Marla or Dustin or Mark, whoever, and we'll get you on. Matter of fact, do that as soon as possible because we'll be able to send you out the right agreement. So anybody else?
And congratulations on your raise once you do that, because it's about 40% that you'll keep of your income.
Yeah, you get less withholdings and you still get all workers' comp and all the other stuff. So it's not, and you still get health benefits. So it's like a win-win. All right, you guys, with that, was there anything in the chat? Let me see. Tara put her phone number in the chat. 3508, same as 1099, close. It's basically a 1099, but 1099 is illegal. So it's called 3508, independent sales contractors. Other than that, Paul, I'll kick it back to you. I'm leaving. Thanks, guys.
Well, hopefully everybody got a little bit out of something that they needed to hear. I would tell you this. Don't live on rumors. You know, we have nothing to hide. So if you want to know the truth, just ask. I'll be glad to talk to anybody about anything that I can share with you. Anybody have any questions for me before we go?
Paul, good question. If we have a corporation, can we get paid on the actual corporation name, or do we get paid directly and then we deal with that with our taxes?
So we have to pay the individual. You can actually work this out with your tax guy to where even though we're paying you as an individual, you can dedicate those funds to your corporation so that it actually shows from the IRS perspective that you have paid, that the company is the one that received the money, which makes it easy for you to be able to do a lot of additional write-offs.
But we can't
I will
officially
tell you
give you
this.
tax advice.
I will tell you this, if you don't know your way around taxes, I had already talked with Vince and Melanie about having my CPA do what he's done for other teams that I've worked with. He did for the Colorado team, he did for the Arizona team. Came on, he did a 30 to 45 minute presentation and then spent the next 20 minutes answering direct questions. I've used him for over 20 years at this point in my life. He's lasted longer than 2 marriages. And so I'm just telling you, the guy's really, really good. He's also what they call an enrolled agent at the IRS. So he has a very, very, very strong working knowledge of all the ins and outs of what we can write off and how we can stay clean. I'm going to put that together as the point of the story where he's going to meet with us again. Any other questions? All right, well, this was